Welcome, everyone, to the La Jolla Cosmetic Podcast. I'm your hostess, Monique Ramsey, and today I have Marissa in our studio. She's one of our patient care coordinators, and we're going to talk about the consultation. And for many people, the consultation is the first time they've ever been to a cosmetic practice or a med spa, and they don't really know what to expect. And it is different. It's not something we all are used to doing. So often people are surprised when they come through our doors because it looks like more like a hotel maybe than a medical office. Um, but we don't want too many surprises. So that's one surprise. But we want you to know exactly what to expect from beginning to end. And so Marissa knows this process better than anyone else at La Jolla Cosmetic. She's our lead patient coordinator. So welcome, Marissa. Can you tell us a bit about yourself and your role here at La Jolla Cosmetic?
Hi, yes, I've been here for about 2 years now almost, and I am the lead coordinator downstairs in our surgery center. I'm one of the first people that you talk to on the phone to schedule your consult, and usually the person that you meet in the office as well. So I'm with you throughout the entire process.
So, if you're considering surgery or any kind of cosmetic service, I guess,
Mhm.
and you've reached that moment where you're ready to reach out, that very first step is to call or fill out a form on the website or text. So,
Yes.
what happens next when that form comes into your office? Who calls you back and kind of what is the process that the patient can expect?
Yeah, so once you send that form in, I usually will either give you a call or if you put on there that you prefer text, email, whatever best form of communication is better for you is what how we'll reach out. So if you prefer to do text because you have a busy life during the day, totally understand. We can text and get your consultation scheduled. So whichever you prefer.
And is there typically a long wait time to see a surgeon or to get
No,
into a
I
consult?
would say if for a consultation, we're usually able to get you in within a 1 week or to 2 weeks at most.
Oh, good.
Mhm.
Um, so I want to highlight a few sentences from a review that a recent patient wrote about her consultation. And here's what she said. From first contact after I emailed requesting a consultation, the communication from the staff was thorough and detailed. I didn't even have to call. All my questions were answered through emails to meet my busy scheduled needs. So that sounds like, is that something you kind of hear frequently that you, patients are easy, you'll meet them sort of however they need to be
Ye
met?
Yes, exactly. Whichever is easiest for you, we're able to communicate all different ways. If you prefer email, text message, a phone call. I mean, we're all so busy. So sometimes a quick 5-minute call is all you have time for. And sometimes there's absolutely no time for a phone call. You just have to send a text or communicate through email. So whichever is easier for you guys, we're able to make something work all the time.
So, at La Jolla Cosmetic, we've always had a complimentary consultation. So no fee
Mhm.
for that consultation.
Right.
And I think I hear from practices, or patients that visit other places. Sometimes it's a few $100s. And why
Mhm.
do some practices charge a fee and why doesn't La Jolla Cosmetic?
I don't think we charge a fee because we want you to feel comfortable and confident coming into the office. Sometimes, if you're paying a fee, it can be overwhelming. It's a huge commitment. Where we want this to be a really easy first step for you. If you're just in the early stages of gathering information and you want to meet with the doctor just to know what to expect or what to anticipate and plan for, rather than collecting a fee, it's kind of almost already committing before you even know what the next step is going to be
Yeah.
exactly. So I think that's why we just don't collect a fee. We want you to feel comfortable and confident coming into the practice and not feel pressured.
Yeah. And that, I guess, could be a barrier in some ways, whether it's a mental
Yeah.
barrier or just even, I get that. Like you want to make
Yeah.
sure the
It can
patient
be
feels.
intimidating.
Yeah, yeah, I guess that's a good
Mhm.
word. So although we don't charge a consultation fee, do you ask certain things of patients before they schedule a consultation?
Yeah, we just ask that they complete forms prior to coming to the consult because the doctor does like to remove or review their medical history. And then also, we confirm their consultation about 1 to 2 days prior, just as a reminder if they need to cancel, reschedule. We totally understand things come up, things happen, and you're not able to make it in. So we just ask for that courtesy to reschedule and let us know ahead of time.
And then, I think something that, most patients want to know is, about financing. And we do have a podcast about financing
Mhm.
specifically. But, in that pre-consultation process, when you're talking to a patient, are you
Yeah.
helping them to determine if they're ready financially for that
Yeah.
potential expenditure?
Of course. So, anytime I'm talking to a patient for that pre-consultation process, I try to give the best ballpark pricing that I can so that there's not very many surprises when they come into the console. It's not like you're coming in and it's a $16,000 quote, but I told you it was only going to be 10,000. Then you're going to be like, "What happened?" So I try to prepare them as best as I can for the procedures that we review on the phone, and I also discuss financing options as well, with the 24 months 0% interest, which is really nice and definitely helps a lot.
So do you also talk about, I would assume, let's say somebody calls and they're thinking, okay, I'm, thinking about some liposuction.
Hmm.
And then I'm assuming you might go down a path of like, are they a candidate for this? Like maybe
Yes.
do you ask them some questions to sort of find out, is that the right procedure in the first place?
Yeah, and we all think, okay, well, maybe not, maybe just a little bit of lipo, maybe not a tummy tuck yet, or maybe just a little pull here, but maybe not a facelift yet. And I always say we're our own worst critics. We notice all those little details on ourselves when it's not that bad, but there is specific questions that we do ask as coordinators that help us differentiate what would be the best procedure for you.
And then what about health factors? Like if they're still a smoker, let's hope
Hmm.
they're not.
Yeah.
But, or, do you talk about their BMI? And I think we have a calculator on the website, a BMI calculator that you can see, like,
Utilize.
are you
Hmm.
like a
A
candidate
healthy
wise,
candidate.
healthy candidate? Right.
Hmm. Yeah, so I do, depending on what procedures they're interested in, I do go over, their BMI. And the reason I explain to them of why we ask the BMI, because it can be a little bit of a touchy subject, and I
Mhm.
never want to offend anybody or it come across the wrong way. So I explain to them it's for safety reasons with anesthesia. We want it to be around a 30, 32 BMI if we're doing any body or breast procedures, liposuction. And then also, it's for the patient as well. If you're spending, a significant amount of money at a surgery center, you want to get the best outcome that you can possibly get. And getting to a goal weight prior to surgery is going to help you reach that goal
Mhm.
and give you the
That's
best
true.
outcome.
That's true. So another question, because we have a practice with so many doctors, we've got
Right.
so many wonderful surgeons.
Yeah.
How, if they have, if you heard about, Dr. Smoot or Dr. Dr. Salazar
Hmm.
from, a friend, of course, that's probably who you're going to want to see for your consultation. But if you
Right.
just have heard about how great La Jolla Cosmetic is, because we are,
Hmm. Yeah.
um, but you don't know which doctor is best for you.
Mhm.
Um, is that something that you guys can help with on that phone conversation?
Oh, definitely. So what I usually ask them is first, let's talk about what your goals are, what you're wanting to achieve, what procedures would be best for you. And then from there, I'm able to direct my patients into who would be the best surgeon, understanding what their goals are. Do they want a natural look or do they want a little bit more volume than most? Do they want a bustier look? Do they, depending on what they're trying to achieve, allows
Mhm.
me to determine who would be the best surgeon from them. And personality wise, as well, is a big thing too. All surgeons have different personalities. So I take that in consideration as well too when I'm chatting and getting to know my patients on the pre-consultation.
Think that's a really good point because we want you to feel really comfortable with not
Exactly.
just the surgeon, but with his or her nurse, with, our
Hmm.
entire team. And I've always said, that the time that you are most with the surgeon, you're asleep. And
Yeah.
they're doing their job, right? They're
Exactly.
they're fixing you. And
Mhm.
that's a really important part. But you also want to feel that there's a connection there and that
Right.
that that style, that just that whole ease of
Mhm.
comfort, is
Yes.
part of it as well.
Mhm.
Um, and so would you say sometimes that the doctors have certain specialties, like where if somebody says, "Okay,
Yes.
I want a rhinoplasty," for
Mhm.
example, then you have some ways to
Right.
guide them to the right person?
Yeah, if they're wanting like a rhinoplasty or revision rhinoplasty, I usually refer to Dr. Vreeler because she is absolutely phenomenal. It's what she's known for. If they're wanting a breast lift or an explant, removing their implants, I know Dr. Swiston is going to give them the best outcome. He's what he's known for. So,
Mhm.
different procedures, I'll refer to different surgeons to know that they're going to be in the best hands possible. And this is what they specialize in.
Now, maybe this is a random question. So,
Mhm.
is there ever a time where you might say to a patient, two surgeons, either for two different things? So, say somebody's interested in a rhinoplasty and a breast
Mhm.
augmentation. Dr.
Yes.
Riedler is a facial plastic surgeon. She doesn't go below the clavicle. And
Right.
if you wanted to have that rhinoplasty and breast augmentation at the same time, is
Mhm.
that something that they can do and that you would set up consultations for more than one doctor?
It is a possibility, and I do it fairly often where patients are, after doing their own research, they're like, I actually want to meet with this doctor too. And I'm like, perfect, let's get you set up with both and see who you feel most comfortable and confident with and who you feel like you built a really good connection with as well, because that's important. So I'll set them up with multiple consultations, or like how you said, I'll do a facial procedure for Dr. Riedler and then maybe one of our breast specialists for the body. And we can
Mhm.
do a combo case where they have surgery the same day. And one surgeon will go first, then the other surgeon goes after, and then they still get to go home.
So yeah, because I was coming at it from two different procedures, but you make a really good
Mhm.
point. What if let's say you're having a breast augmentation and you see one doctor, but you also then are interested in another doctor at La Jolla Cosmetic? Do they get
Yeah.
offended? Do they do they
They don't get offended.
they get offended? Like,
No.
but can I see somebody? It's just like
Yeah,
when you try on shoes, you want to make sure it's the perfect shoe. So
exactly. You
it's
gotta
this
try on maybe
it's
a little half size different. Exactly.
So is
So
that's okay, and does that happens frequently?
it does happen fairly often. Every now and then, I have a patient that wants to meet with multiple surgeons, and I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Let's get you set up for one day with this doctor, another day with another doctor, and then they get to decide. And I try to make them feel as comfortable as possible throughout that situation because sometimes they do feel a little bit nervous seeing two different ones, like they're
Mhm.
cheating on one of them, but it's totally fine and it's normal. And we want you to feel comfortable with your surgeon. That's the most important part.
Now, is there a difference between the fees? Say let's pretend it's the exact same procedure. A
Mhm.
breast augmentation with Doctor A and breast augmentation with Doctor B. Is it gonna be the same quote essentially? Or are there
Typically,
times that it might be different?
Typically, it is the same quote. We have standard pricing across the board for all procedures. Where it can get a little tricky is if it's a lengthier procedure and different surgeons have different surgery times, which can affect the cost in the end.
Mm.
It shouldn't affect it significantly, but there is a slight difference sometimes.
And do they ever have different recommendations, like different approaches to
They
the
do.
same to the
Yeah.
same thing?
Different surgeons have different recommendations. They wanna take a different approach to it. Usually, I would say that they're pretty spot on with each other, and they're pretty consistent, but every now and then, once in a blue moon, I'll get one that has 2 different recommendations.
Okay. So for consultations, now that we're sort of past the pandemic,
Mhm,
everybody's back in person, but let's say I live, on the East Coast. Can I
mhm.
do a Zoom consultation still with one of the surgeons?
Yeah, of course. We can schedule a Zoom consult. I mean, we don't want you flying all the way over here just to meet with one of the doctors. So we'll do a Zoom consult first. And if you feel comfortable, then we'll invite you in for an in person evaluation. But we definitely want them to see each other at some point in person.
Okay. And then if you need more time with a surgeon, let's say, I mean, there's a lot of information to kind of be
Oh, a
thinking about.
lot.
And they cover so much during that visit. Can they come back for another consultation? And is there a charge for that?
Oh, of course. There's no charge for it. And I always tell my patients, I'm like, I understand that you come in, it's your first time having a consultation. It can be overwhelming. You're getting
Mhm.
evaluated. They're going over different options, things that you may have not have anticipated. So it can be a lot of information. And when you leave, you're like, oh shoot, why didn't I ask this? Or why didn't I ask that? And
Right.
it all starts to flow in after it's kind of settled. So I always invite my patients back or to give me a call if they have any further questions. Cause I've done that plenty of times myself where I'm doing something and then I leave and I'm like, why didn't I ask this earlier? So I understand. And I always invite them back in if they want to meet with the doctor or schedule a time for them just to even chat on the phone and get those last minute questions answered.
Now, let's be honest. A lot of
Mhm.
times we have somebody in our life, a spouse or a friend or a parent or, somebody whose opinion matters
Right.
to you. And at the end, it's your own choice. But is it okay for people to bring a spouse or a friend or a significant other to that consultation just for
Yeah.
either to make them feel good as well as
Mhm.
you, or just as an extra set of ears for questions?
Of course. I always encourage my patients, if they're able to, bring in their spouse, significant other, or friend, just for that moral support. And sometimes when you're
Mhm.
in the consults, they ask questions that you don't think of or can't remember at that moment. So it's nice to have another pair of ears, and just to have that support. And it's supposed to be a fun time when you come into the consultation. So bringing, your partner is always going to be better so that you get all those questions answered and you guys are both experiencing this at the same time.
Now, is there anything people have to do to prepare for the consultation other than obviously we have some forms for you to fill out? It's
Mhm.
kind of always a given no matter where you're going these days.
Yeah.
But is there anything you want them to bring, certain pictures or certain resources that homework that I don't want to say homework, but
I do
any
assign a little
yeah.
homework. I tell them, I'm like, you have some homework to do. I want you to take a couple screenshots of before and afters that you like the result, before and afters that look similar to you and you like the result. And then that way they are able to show it to the surgeon. And it kind of just creates an easier communication between them too. And they can both understand what kind of result to expect. And the doctor can explain, yes, I think this is totally realistic. We can achieve this. Or they can explain what would give them to that result and what procedures or what the process would be like.
And is there any resources that you send them to specifically for to help them get the right questions in mind before that consultation?
Yeah, I always have them go to our website and look at our before and afters. Sometimes I'll send a Touch MD as well, where they can review the before and afters on there too. And it has some helpful information on there. So I'll send them a couple links, um, just so that they feel more familiar with our practice prior to coming in.
So the day of the consultation,
Yeah.
what's the most I would think like the biggest question you get is where do I park? It's like silly, but it's kind of like logical, right? I'm a Capricorn,
Right.
so I'm like thinking
Oh,
about
yeah.
like where should I park or how do I get. So
Yeah.
is there something that y- now you guys have valet, right? If
We
people want to
do
use
have,
it, it's not paid. I mean, you have to pay for it,
right.
but there is valet.
We do have valet, which I let my patients know. And I also tell them that I send them directions of with a link to our office just because it can be really confusing. My first day working here, I got lost and didn't know where I was and how to call the office. So I'm like, use these directions. They will save you time when you're coming in. So I prepare them that way. And then when they have the consultation, we're located on the first floor, super easy to find. It's not like they're having to go throughout the building. So that's really
Mhm.
nice.
Yeah. And now I guess will if people are concerned
Mhm.
about people seeing them coming and going from the office, like, do you
Yeah.
have any
I
advice
would
about that?
yeah, I would say that we don't ever have a really full lobby. Um, Most of the time we maybe have like 3 patients in the lobby at a time, but we try to be fairly quick and it's something that I feel like some of my patients even connect with each other in the lobby and they're talking about things. So it's a safe place when you come in. And like you mentioned in the beginning, it's not a typical medical built office. It's kind of like how you said a hotel. It's more of a cozier environment.
Yeah, it's really nice. I
Yeah.
think on our website we do have some 360-degree tours where you can actually we'll put a link in the show notes.
Oh
But the
yeah.
360-degree tour where you can actually like walk around. And we're going to get one for outside too because I think we need one for outside.
Oh,
But where
definitely.
you can walk around, you can even see the operating rooms, which is kind of cool. So we'll put that link in the show notes, but we'll have I think that just helps sometimes you to feel prepared.
Ease your
It's like,
mind a little
yeah,
bit,
yeah,
yeah.
okay, I know where
Mhm.
I'm going. I know what it looks like. And
It's familiar.
yeah, it's familiar.
Mhm.
Exactly. And we have a really good coffee cart on the first floor. So if you have time
Yes,
before or
you do.
after, you could just stop in for a latte right across from our office. So how much time do you typically recommend for a consultation, or does it vary by doctor or by procedure?
It varies by doctor. I would say to usually carve out about 45 minutes, to an hour for a consultation. Some doctors take about an hour and a half to 2 hours, and I usually let them know beforehand to how much time to carve out so that they're prepared as well and they make enough time allotted on their schedule.
Now, I remember over the years needing to babysit a few times, and we love kids, but do you recommend people get a sitter so they can not
Yes.
have
I
that distraction sort of during that appointment?
Yeah, and the reason I suggest it is because it is a distraction. You're trying to, focus on the kids, but then it's also really important to listen to the surgeon, and you're not getting the full experience of a true consultation when you have your little ones with you. Of course, we try to accommodate, like you mentioned. I babysat a couple times, a couple dogs too in the office, but we do strongly recommend that you find childcare just so that you're able to really dedicate that time to the doctor and get the best consultation that you can with all the information that's provided.
Now, do they do some before and after imaging or before and after so that people can kind of get an expectation of what they might look like
Yeah.
after this surgery? Does that happen during the consultation or does that
Yeah.
happen later?
So at the consultation, if you're interested in a breast augmentation, it's really important that you get to try the implants on in the office, which is the most fun part of a consult. If you're doing a body procedure, we have something called a Vectra, where we're able to morph the body and show you what you would look like after surgery. So you're able to see that visual. And then for rhinoplasties, we're even able to morph the nose on photos so that you can see what to expect after surgery. So there's different options that we offer so that you can get an idea. Of course, it's not exact, but at
Mhm.
least you know, okay, this is like similar to what I'm hoping for.
So for those, I'm assuming, yeah, maybe it takes a little extra time because you're taking those photos.
Yeah,
Um, then who's in the room with there's the surgeon, there's the
correct.
patient, maybe their
Hmm.
friend that they brought along. Who is there
Right.
anybody else in the room? And then along with that question is, are they going to be taking their clothes off for any
Hmm.
part, or how does that work? How does that look
Yeah.
through
So
that visit?
Yeah, so each surgeon has their own specific nurse that they're with throughout the entire week. So it's not like you're going to be seeing different nurses every single time you come in. Say your surgeon is Dr. Swiston, Rachel's going to be with you throughout the entire time. Usually we'll do like a pre-op with you. She's in the room throughout the entire consult with the doctor. She'll have you get ungowned or undressed, and then she'll hand you a gown, and then she'll let you know that they'll be in shortly. They give you a few minutes, and then they'll come back in for the examination.
So do they do the exam at the beginning, or do you get to know the doctor first a little bit and
You'll
then
get to
take
know
your
the knock. Yeah.
and then take your clothes off?
No, no.
Oh no.
We want you to be comfortable.
Okay,
So we'll
okay.
have you chat with the doctor first, get to know him, see what your goals are, what would be the best options. Then when we do the evaluation is when they give you the recommendation of what surgery.
Okay, okay.
Hmm.
That's when the pinching and the
Yes, the pinching and
squeezing.
yeah.
So I want to read another review that I saw the other day as I was preparing for this with one of our
Hmm.
surgeons, Dr. Swiston. They said, genuinely felt a sense of ease and comfort, extremely thorough. I especially appreciated the honesty about what I would look like with and without the breast lift. This was extremely important to me, and no other doctor was able to explain and show me what it would look like after the fact with each option. So the reviewer here put that word show in quotes, show me. So that what technology was used during that consultation, do you think?
Yeah, that I believe was our Vectra, where we're able to show you what your breast would look like before and after with the lift, with an implant, without an implant. It really gives a nice visual of what to expect. Along with Dr. Swiston, he'll also try to best explain and show you with your anatomy of what to expect as well too.
Now, during that consultation, let's say you come
Yeah.
in and you are, thinking about, let's say, a breast lift,
Hmm.
and that's all you told the coordinator. But then when
Hmm.
you're in the room, you're like, "Oh, but doc, what about?" And can you launch into another topic, or is it better to try to do that ahead, or what's the best way?
The best way would be to let us know when you're chatting with us, scheduling your consult. But I completely understand, there's so many things going through your mind scheduling a consult, and it's nerve wracking because it's your first step and it's a big one. So if you'll forget and you just want to ask the doctor in the consultation, it's totally fine to just throw it in there and say, hey, actually, I was thinking now I want to add some implants. Totally fine.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
And then if they talk to you, Marissa, let's say that
Mhm.
they call or in that first email thread, they're talking to you. Do they then meet with you at on the day of the consultation and kind of are you their buddy, I guess, maybe is the best way to put it through the
Yes.
process?
I am their buddy through the process. So, when I chat with my patients initially, I also meet with them at the consultation. I try to see them before their consult just to be like, hey, a familiar face. I'm here with you. I'll see you in a little bit. Let's get you comfortable in a room. Then I meet with them afterwards as well, just to see how they felt and, what they're thinking, what their thoughts are. If maybe they have a question that they didn't think of in the consult, I'm there through the entire process with them, just basically holding their hand, being a friend, walking them through it.
I like that, being a friend.
Yeah, that's why I love my job. I get to just
Yeah.
be all my patients' friends.
So, what are the things that the patient might take home with them after the consultation?
Yeah, so if they did any Vectra or morphing photos, they get to take those home with them. They also take home their quote that we provide, and then usually I'll provide my card and let them know they can call or text me with any questions.
And how long is that quote good for?
The quote's good for 30 days. After 30 days, it is subject to price changes.
So, what if they're not ready to make a decision? Like, I don't know. Sometimes you go places and you feel like you have to make a decision while you're
Yes,
sitting there, and
you
that's
don't
not.
have,
We don't want anybody to feel that way. I'm
right.
guessing. And so,
Yeah.
what's their? I guess. What do most people do? Do most people, by the time they have the consultation, are they kind of ready to move forward, or are there most people more planners and they're thinking way into the future?
I get both sides of it. Some patients are like, I'm ready to do this. I've been thinking about it for so long. Like, let's do this. I'm ready. And then I have some patients that come in and they're like, I thought I was, but now that I'm really thinking about the downtime and the financials of it, it all starts to settle and it feels a lot more real when you're in a consult. And so they tell me, I was thinking, within the next 2 months, but now I'm thinking maybe next summer when the kids are out of school or I'm off work at that time. So many different variables go into this planning, and you're really having to plan your whole life around it. So I completely understand. No
Mhm.
rush. Whenever they're ready, just give us a call back and we'll get you in for another consult if it's time for a reevaluation, and then we can move forward at that point. We'll always be here for them.
Yeah, and we've been here for 34 and a half years
Yeah,
now
I don't think we're going anywhere.
as of this podcast, so you know where to find us.
Yeah.
Um, now, do people want or ever ask to record their consultation? Let's say they're either worried that they're so nervous they'll forget stuff, or maybe their husband or wife couldn't come and join them.
Mhm.
Do we allow people to record the consultation?
I've never came across this scenario,
Oh,
but I mean, I don't, I don't see it being an issue. I have had patients where they call their husband or FaceTime them into a consult because
oh,
they're not
okay.
able to make it in. So I've had that happen before in the past, and that's totally fine. Whatever you're able to make work, we're able to make do.
Okay, awesome. So, I guess the last part is if people, once they, decide want
Hmm.
to move forward, how long do they typically have to wait to get in the operating room? Like, what's that look like? Kind of once you've
Yeah.
committed, okay, yes, I want to have surgery.
Hmm.
When can you get me in?
I love that question. I think it really all just depends on when the patients are wanting to get in. If surgeons are typically booked out 1 to 2 months in advance, sometimes even longer. But if they tell me, Marissa, like I really need this specific date and it's in a couple weeks, like, is there anything that you're able to do? I'm usually able to figure something out and make it possible and get them the specific date that they need. So I always tell my patients, I'm like, don't worry about the day. I'm here for you. I'll usually make something work, if we have to maybe pull a couple strings, change a couple things just to make it happen for them.
And I think that's one, as you were saying that, it made me really think.
Mhm,
We have our own accredited surgery center
mhm.
in within our office space. We built it. And so what that assures you of is not only safety and that we're running things just like a hospital or anything else, but we have two accredited operating rooms that are running 5 days a week, two
Yep.
rooms, and our own recovery room. And so from the patient, the benefits really are not just the safety, but it's that you can
The
make things
flexibility.
the flexibility, right, that you
Mhm.
can make things happen, that we're not trying to call some third party surgery center and see what
Right.
they have available. So I think that that's something that's a really nice benefit. And we'll put in the show
Yeah.
notes, we do have some information about what does that accreditation mean. It's quad A. I mean, there's four A's and then SF, but it's for ambulatory surgery facility accreditation. And but what that means in terms of, because you're not just interviewing a doctor during this process, you're really interviewing the whole team. Who's the anesthesiologist? Who's going to be with you? Who are the nurses? Who's in the
Right.
operating room with you? And then
Mhm.
who's, where is it being done and is it safe? And so, and I'm assuming those are some of the conversations you have
Oh,
during this
yeah.
process as well.
Mhm. And the good thing about us too also is that our anesthesiologists are all board certified and they're
Mhm.
hired within our practice. Like you mentioned, our own surgery center, we have our own anesthesiologists who have been with us for 15 plus
Oh,
years.
oh,
We're
longer.
yeah, longer.
So I've been there 31 and they came when I came. So some, obviously not every single one of them, but two out of three
About that time. Yeah,
came
exactly.
at the
So
same time. So
we're not having different anesthesiologists come in, different ones every week. They work so closely with our surgeons and really know how to work so well with each other that you're going to have a really safe experience along with our
yeah,
Quad A accredited surgery center.
yeah. So gosh, we've covered so much.
Yes.
Now, something that I think is unique to us
Mhm.
is the review of the consultation. There's a lot of places where you can read reviews from people who've had surgery or a procedure somewhere, but you
Right.
don't always read reviews of that consultation process. And we have
Mhm.
those on our website. If you go to the page called Your Free Consultation, we'll link it in the show notes. But that's a place where you can read reviews of people of what they felt like during this time, because like you said, it can be intimidating. I mean,
It
Marissa's got
is.
you nailed it with that. We don't want it to be. We're trying to do
No.
everything we can so it isn't intimidating. And I think one of the words that when you read through that, all those consultation reviews is they'll say, I felt comfortable. It felt like a family. I felt like I was at home. There are some words in there that we want you to know we're on your team. We're showing up for you. We want you to make the best possible decision, whether it's us or somebody else, but we want
Right.
to give you kind of like arm you with that information. So, is that something that you see with patients a lot where they maybe thought the consultation would be one way and they're surprised that it is a different way?
Yeah, I actually had just yesterday, my patient came in to meet with Dr. Salazar. And my first question, or one of my first questions I ask after the consult is, how was it? How did you feel? Did you feel comfortable? And she was like, oh my goodness, I can't even put into words how much better this consult was. She had just came from another practice and had a consultation there. And she was like, it wasn't bad. She was like, I'm not gonna say anything bad. She was like, but Dr. Salazar, she was like, I feel like I've known him forever. She was like, he was so nice. He was so relatable. He didn't pressure me into doing some larger size. He didn't make me feel like I was doing too small of a breast implant size. She was like, he really listened to me and just made me feel like I was felt heard. And I was
Mm,
like, that's our goal here. Our
yeah.
goal is to make you feel comfortable and at home and relaxed and not feel like you're being forced into a procedure. And it
Yeah.
really at the end, I gave her a hug, and I was like, "I'm so glad you
Oh.
found us."
I'm a hugger too. If
Yes.
when I used to see patients, I'd be like, okay, if I feel like a hug is in order.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, I'm a hugger too. Not
Yeah.
everybody's a hugger. We get that.
Right.
But yeah, I think that's wonderful that,
And that's one of the most important things that I want all of my patients to feel is comfortable when they come in and have a consult.
now we'll have, like I said, all the things in the show notes. And I think when you
Mhm.
read those reviews, not just of the consultation process, but each doctor, when you go on our website, has on their bio page information specific to them, but also all the reviews that are specific to them. So if you're seeing Dr. Salazar, you would see, you can click to look at all in a row, all the reviews of him as a surgeon and how people felt. So either in the consultation and or after surgery. So that's a nice feature. And of course, our photo gallery. We add photos every day.
Yeah.
And so that's something that's always good to check out as well. And you can filter by doctor, you can filter by procedure. So the last thing is, we talk about that we're here to help dreams become real. And especially, I think, when you're having surgery, if you're thinking about something that's, bothering you, you've got that dream of what you're going to look like at the end. And we're going to help facilitate that dream. So for Marissa, let me have you tell us about a dream of yours that became real.
A dream of mine that became real. When I started here at La Jolla Cosmetic, I started in our call center and I was kind of bummed because I've always been a surgery coordinator for the past several years. And I was like, you know what? It's okay. I'll work myself up. That was my goal. And I moved up to the med spa and I was a med spa coordinator. So I have some experience here. And I was like, all right, not the direction I was wanting to go, but it's okay. Everything happens for a reason. It's good experience under my belt. And then finally, I was able to make it down to the surgery center. And I feel so grateful I was able to work with Dr. Swiston, Salazar, all the amazing doctors that we have downstairs. So I feel like that was a dream of mine that became real, is being back in surgery with doctors and the staffing that we have here.
Well, thank you, Marissa, for being with us today and walking everybody through this, that, what could be something that might be intimidating, but, really isn't at the end of the day. And I
Yeah.
think that's just how it speaks to and is a testament to you and the team of patient care coordinators. And I think, we call them patient coordinators, but really it's patient care coordinators because you
Mm.
are coordinating their care and you're taking care of them.
Yes.
So,
Mhm.
thank you
All
again
right.
for coming
Thank you
in.
for having me. I was so excited to be on here and I'm so glad that I did it.
Yeah, me too. It was fun. So, we'll see you guys all next time.
Take a screenshot of this podcast episode with your phone and show it at your consultation or appointment, or mention the promo code podcast to receive $25 off any service or product of $50 or more at La Jolla Cosmetic. La Jolla Cosmetic is located just off the I-5 San Diego Freeway in the Zymed building on the Scripps Memorial Hospital campus. To learn more, go to ljcsc.com or follow the team on Instagram at ljcsc. The La Jolla Cosmetic Podcast is a production of The Axis, TheAxis.io.